Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. Had a very busy weekend this weekend. I got, my youngest had homecoming, had a parade and a homecoming game Friday night, and then homecoming on Saturday. My oldest's birthday was last weekend, and so for her birthday I took her to a concert Saturday, and we spent a bunch of the weekend finishing up the flooring upstairs. But on the way back from the concert, I reworked the train game. Yeah, the final version. .com.final. Many of you were curious about how Rival Rails went at Spiel. So if you're not aware, I was at SPIEL Essen 2 weeks ago, and I had decided I was going to pitch Rival Rails there. I emailed 7 publishers. I heard back from 4 of those publishers and successfully scheduled meetings with 3. So I had 3 pitch meetings, and they all went great. In no particular order, I pitched to Lookout Games, Hans im Glück, and Deep Print. And my very first pitch was the best pitch of the day, of the time. Actually, that's not, well, whatever. It was a very good pitch. I sat down, talked to the guy a little bit, talked to him about the game. He said, okay. I said, do you want to play it? Do you want the overview? He said, just give me the overview. So I gave him the, like, trains on a map, put things out, play cards, do the stuff, get rewards, get money. And he went, okay, let's play a little bit. I said, okay. Or he said, I think he said, let's play a few rounds. All right, so we played a few rounds, and then we finished the whole game. We played the entire game. And by the end of it, he was like, I see, okay. So his feedback was, at first, when we set to play it, he was like, so I'm just going to play a card and put some things on the board, and we're just going to keep doing that until the game ends. And there wasn't an apparent, like, reason to do any of that. Other than, you know, it's a 2-player head-to-head game, so you're trying to make more money. The board just felt like he didn't get it at first. But by the end, he was like, I see. So there's these rivers that cut the board in half, and you have to pay to cross them. Do I want to spend my money to do that? There's these mountains that make it difficult to get places, so I can cut you off from going places. Like, he saw the strategy. It opened up. And that's kind of how the game is anyway. And so at the end of that, he said, I would like to play this with my team. Can I have this prototype? So that was, I mean, number 1, we played the whole game. Number 2, he asked for the prototype. Those are very good signs. I told him I have 2 more meetings, so let me get through that. And if I have it, if I can give it to you, I'll come back, you know, Saturday morning and give it to you. So I left the first pitch meeting feeling pretty great. The following day, so I had a pitch meeting on Thursday, a pitch meeting on Friday, and a pitch meeting Saturday morning. The following day, I had a pitch meeting, and the person that I emailed was not the person that I pitched to. I guess they work as a team. One person kind of sets the schedule, the other person, and then they split, you know, seeing games. So I got to sit down with a man and immediately saw that he knew what he was doing. He's a very good game player. He dialed into the strategies very, very quickly. And he wanted to, I gave him the pitch, same thing. Here's the thing. He said, let's play a few rounds. We played about, we didn't finish the game. We probably played about 80% of the game. He's like, okay, I've seen enough. And then he gave me feedback. And his feedback was he wished the game ended a little sooner. Right now, you're getting between 15 and 20 turns. I mean, it kind of, the end of the game is dependent on the players because once you run a certain number of companies out of new tracks, new locomotives, then that's when the game ends. So you could rush the game end pretty easily with 2 people and maybe get 10 or 12 turns in. But right now, usually you get between 15 and 20 turns. He said he would like to see the game be a little bit shorter. He liked that I had abilities on the cards. So when you play a card, it gives you locomotives to place on the board. There's also special abilities. He liked that, but he wanted to see a little bit more of a variety. He's like, could you maybe, you know, add a little extra in there? And I said, yeah, I could come up with more cards to add in there. He liked the majority awards, but he wanted to see more variability there and more interesting things. But the main feedback he had was, I feel like we're going to the bank too often. There's like pay this for that, gain this if you do this, get payout for that. So you're just constantly changing money. And I went, okay, I can see that, right? Like in a train game, I feel like that's a fairly normal thing. But this game it has started off as a train game that is now a light train themed game. And so the bank situation is a little bit awkward. And he said, I'd love to see that trimmed out or trimmed down. And then he told me, I'd like to take a look at this again. Implement these changes that I've suggested, and then send me the rules so I can see what you've done, and then we'll see if we want to play it again. So I thought that was pretty solid also. And I totally saw his perspective on all that. The third pitch meeting Saturday morning was with a younger guy. I'm not saying that younger guy is a bad thing, but this obviously wasn't his thing. We ended up playing, I believe, the whole game, and he gave me really solid feedback, similar feedback to the others. Like, I wish it was a little bit shorter. I felt like I was just putting things on a map for no real reason. I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of agency. Just kind of whatever. And he was like, I think we're going to pass. I said, okay. So 1 no, 1 yes, 1 maybe. I think that's a pretty solid result. And so I went back and gave the first guy, the prototype. I currently do not own a prototype of this game. Here we are. And then immediately started thinking about how to implement some of the changes that the second guy suggested. I'm saying guy here because they were all 3 men. White guys, all 3 of them. Not because whatever. So I thought about how can I make these I was trying to figure out a way to maybe represent the bank in some other way so that there's not this doing this math stuff during your turn. Started thinking about new card powers. I had some ideas, but nothing really solid. But the good news is, on the drive back from the concert Saturday night, Sunday morning, it was about an hour and a half drive away. We didn't get home till like 1:30 or 2. So for that hour and a half drive home, I had my kid fell asleep, so I was just alone in the car, and I had just ideas firing, and here we are. I now have, I have it printed. It probably won't get cut out for a few days because I have a lot of other stuff to do. But I do have, I think, a version that is close to what the second guy requested. I'm giving up a little bit of... So part of the reason that you go to the bank a lot in the 2-player version, in this game, in the original version, is because money is points, and I prefer for your opponent's score to be a bit ambiguous to you. Like, yeah, you could keep track of it. If you're good at that sort of thing, you could count how much money they've taken, how much they've put back. You could probably do it, and fine. If you're going to play the game that way, that's your choice, that's your opponent's choice, whatever. I give concessions in the rules. You can play with the money hidden or the money revealed. Up to you, however you want to do it. Some people might like to have it revealed so they can see how far behind or ahead they are, that sort of thing. But I feel that leads to a much more AP style of gaming. So I had this getting money and losing money. You pay money to do this, get $1 here, get it. So I kept it a little bit more, and your opponent's score wasn't quite a known factor. But it does make it more awkward, especially when a turn is just play a card, put 2 things on the board, you're done. Now you have to do all this math and figure this stuff out. So he was right. So I cut all of that, almost all of that. I made it. There's only one thing that you pay for now, and that is placing on river. And I still want that. I want the rivers to be special in a way. So you have difficult terrain, like a normal train game, that only one train can go on that space, that sort of stuff. I wanted the river terrains to be different, and part of that is you have to build a bridge to get across the river, and that costs money. It costs you extra. So I went with, I'm leaving that in, but that's it. That's the one, like and it's $5. There's a $5 card, you just toss it. It's not $3 here, $1 there, gain 2, whatever. Everything else cut. I cut all the spending money for this, spending money for that, penalties for this, whatever. And I replaced it all with card draw abilities, so you have a little bit more hand cycling. You have, which I think is a better solution anyway. I think using cards as a resource is a much better solution because in a 2-player game, being at the mercy of the cards, you can feel pretty let down by the deck. So if I have a little bit more card cycling, I think that makes it more interesting. So here it is. I need to cut it out. Like I said, it's probably going to be a few days before I get around to making this like an actual playable prototype. But I'm excited about it. And I think that this is a very valid version of the game. And I think that I think I'll play test it. And I don't think there's any surprises in here. But there might be. At this point in development, 2.5 years on, I think I know this game very, very well. And I think I know how I can manipulate the game, in what ways I can manipulate the game without breaking it. So I don't think there's anything in here that's going to be a whoa outlier. But we'll see. That's what testing is for. And if I like where this is headed, I'm going to redo the rules with the new components and the new stuff. And I'll probably wait until I have a decision. I'll wait a month or two. Or until I have a decision from the publisher I gave the prototype to. I don't expect to have a decision from them anytime soon, but who knows? Some publishers might take... In the case of Imperial Miners, it was a year. I got shown the game, and it wasn't until a year later when I got shown the game again, and then was like, all right, let's do something with this. So, some publishers, or Scallywags, when I published Scallywags, it was almost 3 years before I sent them a pitch, and then 3 years later I heard back from them. So this publisher could be, they could go back and play all their prototypes very quickly, and I could have an answer before Christmas, or they could take their time. So I'm going to sit on this for a little while and not submit it to the other publisher, because I don't want there to be any sort of hey, this is under review with publisher A. Once I hear back from them, I'll let you know. But we'll see. I think honestly, nah, let's not say that. I'm hopeful. The good news is that all the publishers I picked, I very selectively picked publishers that have a history of 2-player games, that have a history of train games, that I think would be a good fit for this based on their current trends in their lineup, the weight of this game, that sort of stuff. And the one that said no is a massive publisher, right? Huge. And that would have been crazy, but I wasn't as excited to work with them as I am the other two. So the other two, I'm very excited to work with either of them. And we'll see what happens. There you go. Got any questions? Put them in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is spoonerism. It is a noun meaning a phrase in which the syllables of neighboring words are accidentally interchanged. A popular spoonerism states, cook a grilled cheese sandwich in lots of butter, let it get cold, and you have a chilled grease sandwich. Spoonerism. S-P-O-O-N-E-R-I-S-M. I've never heard that or the phrase, and I think that's hilarious.